Quark has the heart of a Basai master. Worf and Dax decide to go for it. Miles and Kira decide they better not. Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Seventh Rule with Sir Rock Lofton.
Hello, hello.
My name is Ryan T. Husk, and today we are doing a review of Deep Space Nine, Season 5, Episode 3, Looking for Parmok in All the Wrong Places, written by Ronald D. Moore and directed by our good friend Andrew J. Robinson. This was also October 14th, 1996, by the way. How are you today?
I'm good. It's got a long title name, Looking for Parmok in All the Wrong Places.
I'm already worried about how we're going to fit that in the titles of like iTunes and YouTube and all that. I'm like, how are we not going to be able to fit everything else?
It's the super long title. Obviously trying to, substitute the word love.
I thought the word was nub. Nook and Panub. No. Do you remember that old?
No, I've heard that. Yeah, I don't know where it came from.
It was a stand-up routine. Who was?
That was Eddie Murphy.
I think
Eddie
so.
Murphy. Doing the Little Rascals, I think.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And people in the chat can confirm or deny this, but I think that's what it was. I think it was Eddie Murphy.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, everybody at home, please make sure you subscribe, you like, you comment in the comment section below, hit the notification bell. That's really the most helpful way you can support this thing. We would really appreciate it. If you like what we're doing, feel free to do that. And please go to our Patreon and support us, patreon.com/the7th-rule. If you think, hey, these guys are fun and I look forward to watching them or listening to them sometime, maybe you think, I'm going to throw a few bucks their way. And then you can also have all kinds of really cool perks. Join us sometimes, have some fun with us. It's a good time. And by us, I mean, you really just want to hang out with Sirach. I get it, but you can. Anyway, moving on to this episode that featured Grilka and Quark again.
Yeah, I was waiting for you to say it was directed by Andy Robinson. That's one of the highlights of this episode. I mean, obviously he's not on camera, but he's behind the camera, making things happen. So shout out to Andy Robinson.
Yeah, really cool. And that is the only episode he has ever directed. Only thing we know of that he has ever directed. So I definitely tried to keep an eye on that kind of stuff and watch the humor. I was also very impressed with the writing. A lot of the lines were very clever and funny, so I was happy to check out who that was that wrote it, Ronald D. Moore. But the directing as well, there were definitely some choices made that added to the humor or added to, the depth of the characters or the weight behind the scenes. What did you think?
Yeah, there were some choices that I thought were made, and I could tell because obviously Andy Robinson has a very good relationship with Armin and the rest of the cast at this point. So there's a trust factor there. He's also a really humorous person just by nature. So he's comical. He's a laughing guy. He's got the stories and the jokes. And he really approaches the craft with that kind of, knowing how to straddle the line between drama and comedy, which is what he does when he performs as Garrick, right? It's like, it's just serious enough, but it's also just funny enough. And I feel like he put that kind of a fingerprint or impact on this episode as well, where he kind of, balanced and straddled the line between this is serious, this is, but it's also, let's edge it and lean towards comedy when we want to soften the blow of different things.
Yeah, and I wish I'd taken more notes on, mostly their mental notes when I'd catch something, delivered in a certain way. And I was like, oh, that's probably Andy, adding a little bit of his flavor in there. But they'll probably come to me as we discuss them. It does open up on a very funny scene where Bashir is kind of eavesdropping and listening in, and it was funny because we're all taken by surprise, obviously, when Keiko shows up and he's like, what the hell? Oh, and by the way, Molly gets a nam straight up from the beginning. Molly gets a nam, and our buddy Shakar gets like his 40th nam of the day.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
at the beginning when Quark
I
says,
didn't
"Hopefully
really hear
Molly's not
Molly
around."
now.
Yeah, when he
Okay,
hears them fighting and Quark says, "Hopefully Molly's not around."
okay, yeah, I remember that. Directorial, like as far as what we were talking about with Andy Robinson making choices, I think there's a few examples. I'll give one in specific that
Mm-hmm.
I can remember, and that was the scene in which uh, Quark comes to Dax to basically get advice on how he should be courting Grilka, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in that moment, he interrupts Worf, who's pining away about how miserable he is, and Quark is completely oblivious to Worf's feelings for her at this point. And he walks in. He doesn't mind being open about what his feelings are. Hey, Dex, I need help to court this
Yeah,
woman. And what I noticed Andy did was he had Worf stand off into the background at that moment, and he focused on a two shot with the two of them.
yeah.
And then he cut back to Worf, who came with this hilarious monologue, soliloquy right there, and it was just hilarious. And I think that just that choice to cut back over to Worf and let him begin from a whisper, talking kind of like he's talking to himself,
Yeah.
to talking into to everybody. I thought that's his decision. He made that decision with the cameras.
Right. And Worf is just getting fussier and fussier with age. He's so mopey now. Now he's just like, I do not understand what she sees in him. He's just so like,
Yeah,
hmm.
yeah. He's starting to pout a lot, like a kid who
Yeah.
didn't get picked on the team, and
Yeah.
they're playing with ball. They cannot play with my ball if they're not going to pick me.
Take my ball and go home.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
So
was good. Actually, there's another kind of shot like this, similar, which was a nice one. There are a lot of shots like this, where you have somebody kind of in the foreground on one side and somebody more in the background on the other side. So we're watching two different stories develop. You're watching the person in the foreground, their story, what they're thinking about, what they're feeling, and you're watching the person in the background, like that adds to the story because we know that what this person's saying is affecting this person. We know this person is like saying, I don't like this or what's going on or whatever like that. And these kinds of shots allow two stories to be told at the same time. And I did notice a few of those.
yeah, there was another moment there where Worf is in Quark's bar, and he walks up to Morn and he says, "Forgive me for doing
Yes.
this." And Morn is not even paying attention. He's like he's not even listening. They made a decision there for Morn not to be looking up at him and kind of having a conversation with him, but more just play it forward as if you don't even hear this guy. So little decisions like that I kind of noticed, and I thought that were interesting as far as moving the story along,
Yeah.
and really making Worf look a little bit out of character in this episode. I thought slightly.
Yeah, and real quick to finish up on Morn, I noticed in this episode that there were some characters some actors that don't usually do stunts doing stunts in this episode. Like we're used to seeing Worf fight. He does stunts. Of course they have their stunt doubles, but they're still also doing things. Sometimes they have the close-ups. And Jadzia Dax, of course, we see her fighting, but it's very rare that we see Quark swinging
Quark,
around
right?
a batleth. And it's very rare, I don't think we've seen it, where Morn and presumably Mark Alan Shepard, the man who plays Morn, fully did a stunt. He jumped back and landed on a mat back there. That's a legitimate stunt, and he got a bump there. So it was interesting to see that this was definitely a week where people that don't usually do stunts were getting their stunt bumps or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know if the stunt bump is how significant it is, but I mean,
It's more like a
it's
fist bump. They're
always
like, "Good job, buddy."
yeah. Good job. You all right? You all
Yeah,
right?
right.
Okay,
Okay, we'll do it again.
second one. Yeah, that's how it goes. I remember I have a box set DVD of Avery's series, A Man Called Hawk.
Uh-huh.
And it was so interesting to watch these episodes. You know, I think it was early '90s, maybe even late '80s when this show was out. But he's jumping out of the window. He's I saw him leap from a fire escape onto the hood of a car.
Wow.
And these are like, and so there's no cuts in these shots. Some of these shots, for example, I see him running down the fire escape and leaping from the second floor, or of this fire escape onto the hood of a car. And I'm thinking, wow, he did these stunts like it had to have been him. There's no cutaway. It looks like Avery. And so when I talked to him about it, I said, hey, did you do those stunts, jumping onto the car and all this stuff? And he said, yeah, I did all of that stuff. And I kind of regret it in the long run, because that stuff adds up to your body and wear and tear of doing that.
Right. Which
That
is why he
yeah.
doesn't do that kind of stuff in Deep Space Nine. He's like, not
I learned.
anymore.
I learned my lesson.
I
Well, you
can
see him
do
in
it. I can do it, but
I can
nah.
do it, but I'm not gonna risk my body anymore, because it's
Yeah.
just it adds up. And I mean, we see him in, obviously he does the fighting choreography scenes and stuff like that. We see Cisco fighting a lot, and that's okay. But I'm talking about
Mhm.
real physical stunts where your body is in
Yeah.
jeopardy. And sometimes, for example, there was an injury that happened with Alimo, and I think Mark Alimo talked about it before,
When he got hit.
when he got hit in a
Yeah.
scene with Avery, and his nose was broken as a result of it. Um,
And he definitely reacted to it.
it's interesting, because when they showed the outtakes of the Cisco and Jake laughing together in the outtakes, like in between scenes when we're trying to get ready for a scene in the DS9 documentary I'm talking about, What We Left Behind.
Hmm.
They
Hmm.
had a couple of those outtakes in there, and it made me realize that there's a big storage of so much outtakes and so many unused footage that is somewhere, sitting somewhere. But
Yeah.
I'm sure there is a recording of the moment when Mark Alimo got his nose broken, right? I'm sure
We
that's
want to
on
see
film
it, man. We got to see this.
somewhere. I know, right?
You
But I'm
know,
sure it's there.
and it does happen. I mean, I did stunts for a time too. I'm kind of glad I didn't end up really going, too deeply into that as a career, because it does mess up your body. But I I did one time clip somebody just barely on the nose on a swinging punch. Actually, his name is Manu Intiraymi, who played Icheb
Oh, Manu,
on
no
Voyager. Yeah,
way.
in our
You
movie
punched
Fifth
Manu in the
in our
face?
in Fifth Passenger. Yeah, well, it's because he ate the last burrito at lunch. So I was like, well, we're doing a fight scene. So maybe I could. No, it was an accident. So we've got this fight scene, but he
The
leans
last
into it
burrito.
a little too much, right? And so as I'm doing the swing, I'm doing the swing at the same time as he lunges forward. So, there was nothing, but it's still just barely a touch. The problem is, it still looked great on camera. He wasn't hurt. It barely grazed him, but I messed it up because I go like this now. Like I reacted like
Yeah,
I'm
you
like,
all right? Like, you're okay?
yeah, I
Yeah,
messed up the take because of, or at least I thought I did. Turns out it wasn't that bad, but I thought, dude, I feel like I reacted like going, oh shit, that kind of thing. Another
yeah.
time I got hit in the nose, and I guess I can't really blame the dude too much because he swung back and elbowed me when I was behind him, right? So he swings back. He definitely, now, of course, I'm supposed to fake the fall. So I didn't really have to fake the fall that much. Like, he got me right here, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was it. Definitely, I don't think anything was broken. I definitely something cracked, but I didn't go to the doctor because I felt fine. It's definitely just swollen. But it does happen, and I'm sure it happened many times on set that we don't know about.
Yeah, and I've heard Avery talk about that particular story, and it's almost mirrors the story you were talking about, where he felt like Mark Alimo
Leaned in.
was leaning in too far, and that happens. You're talking about inches and sometimes even less than that, centimeters, right? Trying to make it look realistic and sell it. And if somebody's off their mark, or if they're leaning a little bit on their front foot, or you just reach out a little bit farther, these things can happen,
Totally.
and never not done with intention. They didn't eat the last burrito,
Man, don't get
but
between me and the burritos, dude.
but but no, I was saying a little bit about Worf, and I guess I've never seen Worf in a sense of lust, right? Because he's essentially in this lustful state, and he's losing his mind because he needs to get this girl, or he wants to get this girl.
Yeah, what they call it, Parmok, but like they said it's like love, but more aggressive, or they used a word like that, you know? They said it's
Yeah.
what does Parmok mean? It means love, but a little more aggressive. Or it wasn't aggressive the word they used, but it was something like that.
Well, judging by them in Bashir's operating room, they looked more like BDSM, right? It was like really some rough stuff going on over there.
Bashir, Dax. No, I can't
Yeah.
think.
Oh,
BDSM and Morn.
Cisco
and Morn.
Morn.
There we go.
We got it. We got it. Um, we also have there was a line where Worf says, "A marriage of convenience." And I liked there was a couple of lines like that where they were one liners, but I thought they really just rang well in this episode. So I wanted to give another shout out to Ron Moore, because he's really good at that kind of
Well,
stuff.
along those lines, I did write a bunch of these down because sometimes I just can't help it because I'm like, I don't want to forget this. For example, there, some great lines. Bashir and O'Brien are talking. Bashir says, "Still fighting?" Chief says, "Who says we're fighting?" Bashir says, "Oh, word gets around. It's a small station." Chief's like, "It's a huge station." What are you talking about? And, yeah, there are definitely some really good, moments, well written, one liners or two liners. Or like, okay, this was, who knows if this was Quark or if this was Andy, telling him, but when Dax says, "Oh, no innuendo, no staring at her cleavage. She'll consider this a great sign of respect." And Quark goes like, "Respect? Like, what the hell does respect have to do with anything?" The look on his face, like he just smelled, somebody that had too much cheese. Oh man.
I liked, even there was a moment there where Worf was, when he when he first gets shot down. When he first gets shot down, as he approaches Grilka, and the older gentleman, older Klingon, takes him to the side and says, "Hey, bro, let me just tell you something. You don't have a chance with her. By the way, you come from the House of Moog, and you got no credits here." Right?
Tumek was his name. Yeah.
Tumek. Yeah. I really liked him too, because he did kind of seem like the wise old Klingon, right? He had that vibe to him. But he broke it down for Worf. He let him down real nicely. He was like, "Look, bro, it's not gonna happen for you. Let me just just straighten it out for you." He's like, "You still got respect. You still did it respectfully. It's okay."
Oh, that was another brilliant line. Can we just talk about that for a second? That was one of my favorite lines, was when he's letting him down easy. And this can only be said among Klingons. And Worf says, "I meant no disrespect." And he says, "You showed none." Like, don't worry. And where's it? Like, it sounds like calling somebody, saying that they smell like a rotting corpse of something, and talking shit. He said, "Are you just going to stand there like a loser and all this stuff?" And he's like, and then afterwards, he's like, "Well, I meant no respect." "Oh, no respect, no disrespect at all. Totally fine."
"No, that was fine. You were good. You were good.
Perfect. You nailed it."
Up until then, it was great. It's just the fact that you're, son of Moog, and you're just off the list. And But then he goes on to say after he's like, no, no, it's okay. You didn't, it was good. You tried, And then he looks at him and he says, you never courted a Klingon woman, have you? Or something like that. You never pursued a Klingon woman. I think it was something along those lines.
Yes.
And Worf responds, and his no, it's a one word no, but no. The way he said it, it was like he was pushing himself to admit that that is true. That
Hmm.
yes, you nailed it. I actually don't have experience at this, right? And I just thought that one word no, the way he delivered it, I want to give shout out to Michael Dorr. It was great for his character to say it in such a way.
Hmm. I feel like I should wear a tie for this moment, but I
Uh
might as well.
oh, uh
Real quick,
oh,
just real quick. It's an early tie. It's an early tie.
uh oh. This is the earliest
Are you ready
appearance, by
to
the way, of Ty.
rumble? Ever heard of a guy named Alexander? It's Worf's son. You know who Worf had that child with? A Klingon woman. I mean, she's half
Wait a
Klingon. She's half
Yeah,
Klingon, half human. So that there's the technicality that works, but so it still works.
I see. I see. I see. Interesting. It is a technicality, but it does fit. It does
K
fit.
Klar is her name. Good character. That's the next generation.
Yeah, it does fit. Um, I wanted to talk a little bit about the scene between Bashir and O'Brien. When
Okay.
we talked, you touched on it a little bit earlier, where Bashir says, "Hey, word is around the station. It's a small station," and
It's a
O'Brien's
huge
like,
station.
"Yeah,
He's always so
yeah,
mad. He's always so
yeah,
ornery. Like, how
yeah,
dare you say something
yeah,
incorrect?
yeah." He's so offended by stuff, right? What are you talking about? Like, I have to walk around this big ass station and fix everything. What are you talking about? It's a small station. But in that same scene, as it continued, it I don't know. It's just like whoever's writing Bashir, for some reason they must have Perv in his profile somewhere. The because the guy is a doctor,
I know,
so
man.
he's somebody that you trust to be in a intimate situation with, where you're disrobing in front of them and they're checking you in private parts of your body, where you're revealing personal things about rashes and sores and whatever it is that's bothering you,
Yeah.
right? And then for him to kind of come up with like, hey, did you look, when he heard about O'Brien taking her out of the tub? I just thought it was like inappropriate.
Yeah, I was gonna say that too. Like that did make me cringe a little bit, but I'll bet you it didn't make me cringe in 1996. And that's a
Yeah,
testament to obviously the movements that we've had and moving forward and understanding things a little bit better. It's all great things, but sometimes we have to take a mirror to 20 years ago or 25 years ago to actually see how much progress was actually made, because I'm a dude that really just doesn't get offended by anything. And when I saw that, I
yeah.
kind of was like, ah, uh, uh, I don't know, man. And
It,
and it would not fly today. That would not fly today.
it wouldn't fly today.
Hmm.
Not coming from him, especially as a doctor. I think if it was his buddy, his
Yeah.
drinking buddy at the bar, and they're
Hmm.
drinking and he's just saying stuff,
Right.
I would buy it.
Right. Because
It's
that's
like,
within that character. That character, he says
yeah,
weird things. He's a perv. He's inappropriate, whatever. But a Starfleet officer slash doctor, come on.
doctor. Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, you had to treat her. You've treated Jadzia in other episodes that we watched, rejoined in all of these episodes, right? So
Hmm.
we've seen you giving care, administering
Right.
to these very same people. So
And
the fact
O'Brien
that
didn't say, "Did you look?" he
yeah,
didn't say
that
that
was
to him.
it. Yeah. So it's like just as the doctor, it bothers me. It kind of harkens back to the gymnasts, the Olympic gymnasts that had problems with the one doctor that was doing all kinds of weird abusive stuff and got locked
Yeesh.
away forever. Good, good for that. But
Yeah,
just terrible, just abusing his power and taking advantage of people in these vulnerable moments. So I just think
absolutely.
as a Starfleet officer, as a doctor, it's just not appropriate. If it was
Mhm.
his loser buddy at the bar while they're talking,
Right.
I
Then that tracks.
I
We'd be like, oh, that's just whoever being whatever,
yeah,
you know.
yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
Okay, well,
Um,
we got to jump into our break real quick, but we got a lot more to talk about. I do want to talk about also the scene. I mean, we still haven't even really touched Kira and O'Brien, um, or even looked yet. And
yeah,
but
we
also
haven't.
the scene between Odo and Kira was magic, and I want to talk about that too.
Quark too. I mean, Quark was
Mhm.
fantastic in this episode.
All right.
So
So let's get to it. Everybody's like, can you just hurry up and talk about it? Okay, we will right on the other side on the seventh rule.